There is a game running an entire living galaxy on your computer. Thousands of ships, each one with a captain and a crew. Whole factions trading, forming alliances and going to war with each other. All of it simulated at the same time, all of it running without you. I left this game alone once to go make a coffee, got distracted and returned 2 hours later. When I came back, a war had started that I had nothing to do with. A faction I was allied with was losing 3 sectors. My automatic trade fleet was quietly making me rich off the chaos by selling to both factions, while on the other end of my territory a rogue AI fleet laid waste on my stations. That game is X4 Foundations. It released in rough shape in 2018, but the devs hit the afterburner and now, 8 years later, we've arrived at update 9.0. It's the last piece of the puzzle to make this game the best in its niche. So let me tell you what X4 is, why people sometimes bounce off it, and why right now is the best time there has ever been to start. Stick around, because the short version is that the game you might have heard about years ago is far different from the game you would be playing today. X4 is an enormous space sandbox where you start with one small ship in a galaxy that does not care about you at all. The game simulates a whole region of connected star systems. You travel between them through jump gates and accelerators to speed up the trip. And every one of those systems is filled with asteroid fields, nebulae, debris, stations and ships belonging to every faction in the game, all of them simulated independently. Your computer is literally running a little universe, and it drops you and your measly starter ship right in the middle of it. What you do from there is up to you. What comes now is the part that makes X4 hard to explain and impossible to put down after you've got the basics down. You can trade, you can fight, you can mine, you can explore, you can build space stations and giant factories, you can run a fleet, you can quietly corner a market and get rich, you can ally with a faction, or you can decide you want to own a sector. There isn't a best way to play. For example, there are people who have sunk hundreds of hours into this game purely to find the perfect economic opening move. Others don't care and just start trading and adapt on the fly while the universe develops around them. And then there are people who just want to watch the galaxy burn. It is the kind of game where 2 players can describe completely different experiences and both be telling the truth. Now the cast. Because a living galaxy needs people living in it, and X4 has a properly eccentric bunch. The Argon Federation are human, descended from stranded Terran colonists. Strong military, advanced tech, a bit like the good old US of A. The Paranid Empire is ruled by a powerful theocracy, arrogant and deeply intolerant of anyone who believes differently, like the Council peasants hating on us, the PC master race. The Teladi Company are reptilian aliens and shrewd to the bone. They are biologically immortal, but they carry out a suicide ritual once they hit 400 years old. The Split Dynasty are roughly humanoid, aggressive, cunning, and organized as a strict patriarchy. They stir up trouble wherever they go. It never gets boring with split neighbors. The Terran Protectorate field the most advanced ships and equipment in the game, and they are zealous about protecting the Sol system from the Xenon, the universal enemy of the game. And then there are the Boron. These are the newest playable race, aquatic, peaceful, and the last of the original X factions to finally arrive in the game. Their ships and stations are the best looking things in the entire universe. I'm not exaggerating, just look at this. That is gorgeous. Then there are the 2 factions everyone hates. The Xenon are self-replicating rogue AIs. We built them as terraformers a long time ago, they got out of control and now all they do is convert every planet they can find into a giant robot colony, like a 2026 AI startup that scaled past its purpose. They cannot be reasoned with, which is exactly why every other faction in the game is united in fighting them. The Ka'ak on the other hand are insectoid. Not especially advanced, but dangerous through sheer numbers and aggression. The moment your strip mining operations are scaling harder than an influencer supplement grift, they will pop up and harass your miners until you find and blow up their nearby hive station. On top of that, the main factions split into smaller groups and splinter factions, each with their own agenda. And every new game generates a unique seed. One save, the Xenon go rampant from the start and everyone is fighting for their lives. Another save, the Xenon are quiet but the Paranid come out swinging like Mike Tyson and stomp their neighbors in the first 20 hours. Now you get to decide what to do about that. Intervene early and try to collapse their economy? Stay out of it because you are still a little fish in a big pond? Or quietly sell weapons to both sides of the war and use the profit to buy your own sector? Okay, I have spent a few minutes telling you this game is brilliant, so let me be honest with you about why you may never have played it or why you tried it once and walked away. For a long time, X4 had two brick walls that gave new players a bloody nose. The first one was combat. It looked great, but flying never felt as good as it should have. Also, the combat AI was horrendous and commanding a fleet felt more like trying to coordinate a bunch of hammered baboons than a military task force. Flight paths and target prioritization were all over the place. The second wall was management, more precisely the interface. It's not exactly self-explaining, and once you had more than a handful of ships, issuing orders and keeping your fleet doing what you want them to do became a finicky mess. A lot of people hit those walls and quietly closed the game. Here is the good news, and it is the whole reason I'm making this video. Egosoft did not abandon this game after launch. They have spent years patching it for free and they went after exactly those two walls. The early updates 2 through 5 are what fleshed the game out in the first place. They added player-owned shipyards, brought in the Split and the Terrans as playable factions, added terraforming, and steadily rebuilt the economy and combat underneath all of it. 6 finally added the Boron. 7 was a big usability and quality of life pass. 7.5 rebuilt the whole flight model and rebalanced every ship in the game. 8 added the diplomacy system, and that is skipping the hundreds of smaller fixes in between. A few years back, it even got a new graphics engine and a brand new physics engine called Jolt. Lighting got better, surfaces got more detail, and everything related to flight and combat immediately felt more snappy. Based on that, they rebuilt the whole flight model and Boost got its own energy pool, so boosting and shooting finally are separated, which is a blessing. Capital ships now drift and react in a way that makes manually flying them actually fun instead of a chore. This was the patch that took a part of the first wall, the mushy combat, and knocked a big hole into it. They also went after the management wall. The interface and the menus have been cleaned up over the years of patches, the map got reorganized and got new filters for better readability, and then they kept adding whole new ways to play. There is a full diplomacy system now, run out of an embassy at your headquarters. For the longest time, the galaxy's politics were basically on rails. A couple of factions were scripted to fight each other, everyone else sat in fixed relationships, and nothing really changed unless a story mission made it change. That is different now. You can hire agents, send them out as negotiators or spies, and once you flip a mechanic called Protocol Null, the factions start having their own diplomatic incidents. Wars can break out between factions that were at peace for your entire save. Alliances can shift, trade routes can collapse, and you can put your own thumb on the scale, steering those events toward whatever outcome makes you the most money or generates the most chaos. It is not a fully living political simulation, and some players, including me, wanted it to go further, but it still finally breaks that old politics on rails feeling. Which brings us to right now and why this is the best moment to jump on board. The newest free update is called the Empire Update, and it is a game-wide rebalance of combat. Hundreds of weapons, ships and shields reworked, plus a smarter combat AI and an overhauled way capital ships move and fight, which goes right back at that first wall. Capital ships are finally better at keeping their distance from stations instead of charging into a wall of graviton turrets and getting shredded. I'll be honest, Egosoft has taken a swing at this before and it didn't fully stick, so I want to see it hold up over a longer campaign. but so far in my own games it is behaving a lot better than it used to. The feature I really want you to hear about though, new player or returning, is priority orders. It lets you command your fleet instantly from the map, RTS style, which is perfect especially for tense moments when you need to make a quick call. So, if you have never played X4, you would be starting on the most polished, best flying, easiest to manage version that has ever existed. And if you bounced off it years ago, the two specific things that probably pushed you away are the two things this update is actively fixing. So, should you buy it? Let me give you the honest wrap up.
X4 is still not a game for everyone. It is deep, it has a learning curve, and even after all these improvements, the interface is better, but not what I would call simple. It still is a clunky mess sometimes you have to get used to. Beneath it though lies a game that's still a bit janky, but incredibly fun and layered.
If you want something you can pick up and fully understand in 20 minutes, this is not it. But if the idea of a living, simulated galaxy where you carve out your own story sounds even slightly appealing, there is nothing else that does what this does. One practical tip if you decide to jump in: do not buy just the base game. Get at least one or two of the major expansions. The extra content, the extra factions, and the extra storylines add a huge amount, and they are what make the galaxy feel alive and complete. They go on sale often, so you do not need to break the bank if you are a little patient. Here's my recommendation video where I rate all the DLCs. Thanks for stopping by, fly safe, and see you there in a second.